Mayank Agarwal was one of India's best batter in World Test Championship cricket. That's it. I don't even have to say anything else because no one's going to really dispute that claim. But what happened to him? I don't know. I'm still writing the script. But let's talk about his career. He started his cricket journey in his school as an under 13 batter and was a pretty great and talented batter. He modeled his batting style after the aggressive Virender Sehwag and also learned how to face the new ball and play off spinners insanely well. Anyway, he gained recognition when he was around 17 in the Kuch Behar Trophy, where he scored 432 runs in 9 innings, averaging 54 and scoring 200s. He then got his India under-19 call-up when he was 18 and hit a match-winning 160 against Australia in 2009. He was already getting attention as a future young talent, at least for the longer formats. He played the 2010 Under-19 World Cup as well, but since it was a disappointing tournament for India, no one really remembers it. He was the highest run scorer for India, but was still pretty lackluster. KL Rahul also played this World Cup, so that's something to note. Agarwal only scored 167 runs in 6 innings, averaged around 27, but as I said, it was just a disappointing tournament for India. He was called a limited over specialist later on, but he did end up making his debut for the India A side in ODIs, but didn't play well. Later on, he got a T20 call-up for Karnataka in 2010, scoring 52 not out in his first match, and ended up scoring 166 runs in that edition of the Syed Mushtaq Ali Trophy, averaging 41.5 and striking at 139. Karnataka didn't have a great season that year, so he did get called up for the Vijay Hazare Trophy, but he had a pretty terrible season there, scoring only 88 runs, averaging 22 in 4 innings. He finally made his first entrance in the first-class format in 2013. In his first Ranji match, he scored 90, helping Karnataka draw the test match. He helped Karnataka win the trophy, along with his opening partner KL Rahul, whose amazing career I talked about in an older video. Agarwal didn't have a spectacular first Ranji season, but he did score 380 runs, averaging 35 and scoring 350s. He continued playing well for India A and played a lot of T20 matches and was showing great hunger to score a lot of runs. But he hasn't played a huge amount of List A cricket and only 13 first-class games. He was among those in the running to open in the next Ranji Trophy, but was still benched. By Rahul Dravid's own words, it was a wake-up call for him. In the next season, he ended up scoring his first-class century after working hard in the off-season. After this, he also ended up changing his batting style. Instead of scoring runs super quickly, he decided to take his time a lot more and get a little more settled. But he is still more of an aggressor than a defender. He also worked on his short ball skills. It still troubles him a little bit, but he did work on it and got a lot better. He had a great Vijay Hazare Trophy, scoring 256 runs, averaging 43, and striking at 100. And then a great Syed Mushtaq Ali Trophy, averaging 61.4, striking at 134, and scoring 307 runs. Then, during Ranji 2015 and 2016, Agarwal ended up scoring 417 runs in 8 innings, averaging 52.1, and scoring 350 plus scores. While doing this, he also was playing in the IPL, but he wasn't that great of a T20 cricketer. From IPL 2011 to 2016, he averaged just 18.3 and struck at 124.4, scoring 788 runs in 50 matches. Absolutely terrible, so I'm not going to really talk about that. Anyway, he ended up scoring a lot more runs from 2016 through 2018 in domestics, scoring 1,861 runs, averaging 60 in Ranji, and scoring 1150 plus scores, and scoring a triple hundred as well. In Vijay Hazare 2016-17 and 2017-2018, he averaged 64.9, scoring 974 runs and striking at 97.4. And finally, in Syed Mushtaq Ali Trophy 2016-2019, he scored 1,802 runs, averaged 36.1, and struck at 138. So he was just absolutely fantastic. Thanks to this, he finally made his international debut, making it in 2018. On the Indian tour of Australia in 2018, Agarwal played the third test match in Melbourne. I remember watching the hell out of this. I just want to talk about this game for a second. This was easily one of my favorite games at the time. Hanuma Vihari's insane defense against the short deliveries, Bumrah's 9-wicket haul, Puji's classy hundreds, just a special time to watch cricket. Anyway, back to Mayank. He scored a beautiful 76 and really handled the Australian bounce well in his first game and kept the runs going while Puji and Vihari defended. He then ended up scoring a crucial 42 in the second innings, which let India set a target of 399 for Australia, which they couldn't chase. Throughout the series, he ended up averaging 65 and scoring 195 runs. Thanks to his Syed Mushtaq Ali Trophy and Vijay Hazare Trophy performance, Agarwal also ended up getting selected for India's 2019 Cricket World Cup squad in place of Vijay Shankar, who got injured. Everything was going well for Agarwal at this point. He had just become a staple of India's Test 11 and was also set to debut for ODIs. Unfortunately, this is where Mayank Agarwal's downfall started. But first, let's talk about this 2019 season. This is where I feel Mayank absolutely peaked in all formats. He was alright in IPL, 332 runs, striking at 142, but he was really amazing in Tests. He became the second fastest cricketer to reach 2 double centuries in Tests, bettering Don frickin' Bradman. His control over all of his shots were fantastic, and it was beautiful to watch. During this year, Mayank scored 754 runs in 11 innings, averaging 68.5, hitting 2 double centuries, one versus South Africa and the other versus Bangladesh, and in total 550-plus scores. Absolutely insane stuff from him, and now he was set to make his debut in ODIs. He only played 5 ODIs, but only had one good innings, 130-plus score innings. But honestly, I don't blame him. He played with a rather inexperienced team, Shreyas, Rahul, Manish, Saini, and Shah, and the experienced players were also pretty out of form. There wasn't any Rohit, Shaker wasn't good, Kohli wasn't good, so yeah. He probably just crumbled under all the pressure to do well, and replacing Rohit Sharma, the player who is coming off of arguably one of the greatest World Cup seasons of all time. And if I'm being honest, it's too much pressure for one player to take, especially one who's making his debut. Also, the fact that he played all of his ODIs in overseas conditions didn't help. On the topic of overseas conditions, there was a huge difference between Mayank Agarwal at home versus the Mayank Agarwal in overseas conditions. In 2019, which I consider his best season, he was averaging 99.5 at home, scoring 597 runs, and hitting all 3 of his hundreds at home. But when he played in overseas, he was averaging just 31, and hitting only 250s and scoring only 157 runs. This was already something against Mayank Agarwal's case, but people could just easily write it off as something that happens with young and upcoming players. But the next 3 years told a different story. In 2020, Mayank Agarwal played all of his test matches overseas and averaged just 16.6 and had only 150-plus scores. When cricket returned back to India in the form of IPL though, Agarwal arguably had his best IPL season. In IPL 2021, he scored 441 runs in 12 innings, averaging 40.1 and striking at 140. Not just that, but in the previous edition, which happened in the UAE, he was even better in my opinion, scoring 424 runs and averaging 38.5 and striking at 156.5. It seemed that Mayank really had a problem playing pace, especially on overseas pitches. Most of his boundaries in tests came against spinners as well, so it really looked like Mayank Agarwal was just bad against pacers. Yet again, in 2021, another one of Mayank Agarwal's better seasons, we see something similar with the overseas versus the at-home stats. In 2021, he was averaging 60 at home versus 28 in overseas. This, along with the rise of newer openers like Shuman Gill and Yashasvi Jaiswal, gave Mayank Agarwal a short lifeline in tests. The goal was simple: perform or get dropped. Well, that made the one thing that was good about Mayank's test career drop. In 2022, Mayank Agarwal played his final match against Sri Lanka after having a terrible year. He scored 130 runs, averaged 19, and had no 50-plus scores. Shuman Gill eventually took his place, and then Rohit Sharma also promoted himself after becoming captain. This left Mayank with almost nothing left. He was made the captain of Punjab in IPL 2022, and he dropped himself down the middle for the good of Shah Rukh Khan, Bairstow, and Dhawan, which led his performance in IPL to be gone as well. IPL 2023 and IPL 2024 were lackluster for him as well, and then he also went unsold in this year's auction. Mayank had a terrible 2023, but performed in Ranji a little bit, scoring 990 runs, averaging 82.5. He then messed up the rest of his 2023, did average in Vijay Hazare, and the first half of 2024, but something changed during the second half of 2024. I don't know what it exactly was, but it kind of looks like he's improved his footwork and isn't afraid of taking a little more of a risk. He's also shifted his stance a little bit to the left, but please take this with a grain of salt. I couldn't find a lot of good quality clips to look at. He started a sort of comeback, as I said, and ended up winning Vijay Hazare. He was better in Syed Mushtaq Ali Trophy and looks to be doing well. This is probably going to continue throughout the rest of 2025, but will that be enough for him to get back into the Indian side? I don't think so, honestly. It seems like the management for the Indian team just wants all of the seniors out of the side, and Mayank is now 33, turning 34 on the day this comes out. So I don't think that the management really want him right now. So this is like the end of Mayank's international career as we know it. Unless he has an unignorable Ranji season scoring like 1,400 runs or something, and does a similar thing in both Vijay Hazare and Sieta Mushtaq, it isn't happening for him. The fact that they can't use him in overseas conditions really hurts him, and honestly, it hurts me too. I developed my own batting style kind of from like Mayank Agarwal and Manish Pandey's, both of theirs, and it was mainly influenced by Mayank Agarwal's power hitting, and I really admire him as a player, but it just doesn't work for him to be in the side. The management really wants there to be one singular 11 for all formats and all conditions. At least that's what I feel they want to happen, and Agarwal doesn't really work like that. So it's unfortunate to lose a great talent again.